I fell in love, and it happened when I wasn't looking, not when I was lonely, not when I was searching, not when I was asking God for someone. It happened when I thought I was fine on my own. Before you, love was a concept to me, something people talked about late at night, something written in books, sung in songs, promised in stories that always seemed a little exaggerated. I believed in care, in attachment, in comfort. But love, real love, felt like a word people used too easily. I didn't know then how wrong I was. You didn't enter my life dramatically. No spark, no thunder, no moment where the world stopped. You arrived quietly, so quietly that I didn't even notice at first. At the beginning, you were just there. Another presence, another conversation, another human passing through my days. I didn't lean toward you. I didn't move closer. If anything, I stayed careful because I had learned how dangerous feelings could be when you let them grow without permission. I remember the first shift, though. It wasn't emotional. It was mental. I started remembering things about you without trying. The way you phrased sentences, the pauses you took before speaking, the small details most people ignore. That should have been my warning. I didn't fall in love all at once. I slipped slowly, silently. I fell in love when your presence began to calm me, when conversations with you felt less like effort and more like rest, when I realized I could be quiet around you without feeling awkward. That kind of comfort is rare, and I didn't respect it enough. At first, I fell in love when I noticed I was thinking about you during moments that had nothing to do with you. When something good happened, and my first instinct was to tell you. When something went wrong, and I wondered what you'd say. That's when love starts sneaking in through instinct, not intention. I told myself I was just attached, that I enjoyed your company, that I appreciated the connection. I avoided the word love because it felt too heavy, too final. But the heart doesn't wait for language to catch up. I fell in love when your happiness mattered to me more than my clarity, when I cared about your mood even if it meant carrying uncertainty myself. That's a dangerous place to be. I didn't know it yet. You never asked me to feel this way, and that's important. You didn't manipulate. You didn't promise. You didn't pull me in deliberately, which somehow made it deeper. Because this love grew without force, I started protecting you in small ways, holding back words that might hurt, adjusting my tone so you'd feel safe, choosing understanding instead of reaction. I told myself I was just being kind, but kindness, when repeated toward one person, becomes devotion. I fell in love when I stopped noticing time around you, when conversations ran longer than planned, when silence didn't feel like distance, when being near you felt normal and being away felt slightly wrong. Still, I said nothing. Love lived quietly inside me like a secret that didn't yet know it was dangerous. I thought if I didn't name it, it wouldn't grow. I was wrong. I fell in love the day I realized I was afraid of losing you, not because you belonged to me, but because my heart had already chosen you as something important. Fear is an honest emotion. It tells you where your heart is invested. And yet, I stayed calm on the outside, smiled, listened, acted normal. Inside, something irreversible was happening. I didn't fall in love because of one moment. I fell in love because of many small ones that stacked themselves quietly until my heart had no space left to deny it. And the scariest part, you had no idea. This is where the story truly begins. Because falling in love is easy compared to what comes next, realizing it, hiding it, living with it, and eventually deciding what to do with it. I realized it was too late on a day that looked ordinary to everyone else. Nothing dramatic happened, no confession, no heartbreak, just a simple moment that exposed everything I had been pretending not to feel. It happened when I almost lost you. Not permanently, not tragically, just enough to scare me. You were distant that day, not cold, just unavailable. Your replies were shorter, your presence thinner, and suddenly I felt something tighten in my chest. That was the moment, because people you don't love are allowed to drift without consequence. But your absence shook something fundamental in me. I tried to act normal. I told myself I was overreacting, that I was tired, that I was imagining things, but my heart didn't listen. It was already awake. I started noticing how deeply you had settled into my life. You weren't just someone I talked to anymore. You were part of my routine, my emotional rhythm, the quiet checkpoint my mind returned to throughout the day. I hadn't invited you there, you just became. I realized I was adjusting my days around you, waiting before sleeping just in case, holding thoughts just to share them later, saving reactions because they felt incomplete without you. That's when love stops being abstract and starts being personal. I became careful in a new way, not cautious but protective. I weighed my words more. I worried about missteps. I feared saying too much and revealing too much because now there was something to lose. I fell in love when your pain began to matter more than my pride, when I chose understanding over being right, when your silence worried me more than my own needs. That's not weakness. That's attachment crossing into devotion. I asked myself hard questions late at night. When did this happen? How did I let this grow so quietly? Why didn't I stop it earlier? But love doesn't announce itself with warnings. It waits until resistance feels pointless. I imagine futures without meaning. 2. Not weddings or promises, just continuity. You still there. Me still choosing you. Time passing without distance. That imagination scared me because it meant my heart had already decided something my life hadn't agreed to yet. I tried to pull back. I really did. I delayed responses. I distracted myself. I pretended I didn't care as much. But love doesn't respond to strategy. The more I resisted, the louder it became. I realized something painful. You had become my emotional home before you ever became my choice, and homes are hard to leave. There were moments I wanted to tell you everything, to confess without protection, to lay my heart down and accept whatever followed. But fear held me back. Not fear of rejection, fear of change. Because once spoken, love can't return to silence. I watched you carefully, looked for signs, searched for certainty. Did you feel it too? Or was I alone in this gravity? Not knowing was torture. I fell in love when I started praying differently, not asking God to give you to me, but asking Him not to let this destroy me. That's when I understood how deep it had gone. Somewhere along the way, love stopped being beautiful. It became heavy, not because it was wrong, but because it was unshared. I carried it alone, smiling on the outside, fighting on the inside. Because loving someone silently is one of the loneliest things a heart can do. I realized it was too late when the thought of losing you hurt more than the fear of never having you. That's when love stops being safe. And still, I stayed because love doesn't always ask what's best for you. Sometimes it just asks that you feel it fully. This is where the story turns. Because from here, love demands a decision to speak, to stay silent, or to walk away carrying everything unsaid. I carried the words for a long time, too long. They lived inside me quietly, not screaming to be spoken, just waiting, patient, heavy, undeniable. I love you. 3 words that could have changed everything, or destroyed the fragile balance we had. I never said them. It wasn't because I didn't feel them strongly enough. It was because I felt them too much. Love, when unreturned or uncertain, becomes something dangerous, not loud, not dramatic, just quietly powerful enough to rearrange your entire inner world. I practiced the confession in my head, different versions, different tones, different endings. Sometimes you smiled and said you felt the same. Sometimes you looked away gently. Sometimes you didn't know what to say at all. Every imagined outcome ended with me exposed. That scared me more than silence ever did. So I chose quiet, not because it was right, but because it was safer. I loved you in ways you never noticed, in patience, in restraint, in choosing understanding when I wanted reassurance. I loved you by staying when it hurt and by leaving things unsaid so you wouldn't feel burdened. That kind of love doesn't look romantic from the outside, but it's exhausting on the inside. There were moments you came close, too close, you'd say something soft, something thoughtful, something that made my heart lean forward instinctively, and for a second I thought maybe they feel it too. Hope is reckless like that, but closeness isn't always intention, and warmth isn't always love. I learned that the hard way. I watched you live freely while I measured every emotional step. You spoke without fear. I filtered everything. You didn't know you held my heart. I knew you could break it. That imbalance changes you. Some nights I wondered if staying silent was actually selfish. Was I protecting you or protecting myself? Love, unspoken, feels noble, but it also feels like cowardice. I lived in that contradiction for a long time and unforgettable. You arrived like a blessing, quiet, gentle, certain, and that's how I knew. You were not an accident. You were a gift. I didn't ask for you. I wasn't searching. I wasn't even ready. Yet somehow life looked at all my broken pieces and decided to send you, not to fix me, not to save me, but to remind me that I was still worthy of something pure. You didn't change my world. Overnight, you changed it. Slowly, in the way you listened when I spoke, in the way you stayed when silence grew heavy, in the way your presence made chaos feel manageable. That's when I realized some gifts don't come wrapped in happiness. They come wrapped in peace. I've loved before, but that love was loud, demanding, exhausting. With you, love was calm. It didn't beg, it didn't chase, it simply existed. And that terrified me because I wasn't used to love that didn't hurt. I never told you this, but there were days when your smile carried me through battles you never knew I was fighting. There were nights when the thought of you was enough to keep me breathing a little easier. You didn't even try. That's the power of a true gift. It gives without asking. I watched myself become softer around you, more honest, less guarded. You didn't demand trust, you earned it quietly. And somewhere along the way, I stopped praying for answers and started praying in gratitude. But here's the part I never said out loud. I was afraid. Afraid that if I held you too tightly, the universe would take you back. Afraid that happiness would notice me and decide I didn't deserve it for long. So I stayed careful, too careful. And sometimes care looks like distance. If I ever failed to say it clearly, let me say it now. You were not a chapter I regret. You were not a lesson I resent. You were a gift, one that came to teach me what love could feel like without pain, even if you didn't stay forever. What you gave me did. I don't know where life has taken you now. I don't know who holds your hand or hears your laughter, but I know this somewhere in my story there will always be a quiet line that reads, and then there was you, the gift I never asked for, but will always be thankful for. There is something cruel about realizing the value of a gift only after you stop holding it. I understood your worth the day your absence became louder than your presence ever was. When you were here, I thought time was generous. I thought moments would repeat themselves. I thought later was a promise, not a risk. I didn't know that gifts are not meant to be owned, they are meant to be recognized. And I was late. I remember the smallest things now, the way you paused before speaking, choosing kindness over honesty when the truth might hurt, the way your eyes searched my face not for answers but for reassurance. You saw me more clearly than I ever saw myself, and still I hesitated. I told myself I was protecting you from my chaos, perfect moments, or saying the right words at the right time. It's about the mess, the vulnerability, and the truth. The truth I've hidden from you for so long. I'm not a man of many words. I've never been good at showing my emotions, at being open about what I feel. But there's something I need you to know, something I've been holding back for far too long. I'm scared. I'm scared of losing you. Scared that somehow my imperfections, my mistakes, my fears will push you away. That you'll look at me one day and realize I'm not what you deserve. I'm scared that my love for you has always been too loud, too intense, too much. That I've overwhelmed you with my feelings without ever truly asking how you feel in return. I've given so much of myself to you, not because I expected something back, but because I thought that was how love should be. But what I've come to realize is that love isn't about giving so much of yourself that you lose who you are. It's about balance. It's about standing beside someone, supporting them, and being supported without losing yourself in the process. There are things I never told you, things I kept to myself because I didn't know how to say them, things I didn't want you to know because I was afraid of what they would mean for us. I never told you that sometimes I'm terrified of being vulnerable with you, terrified that if I let my guard down, you might not see me the way I want you to, that you might see me as weak or imperfect. And I know I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I've hurt you unintentionally in ways I can never take back. And for that, I'm sorry. But I need you to know that everything I've done with the best intentions. I've tried in my own way to be the partner you deserve. There are moments when I feel inadequate, when I see you shining, so confident and strong, and I wonder if I'm doing enough to match your energy, to match your brilliance. You are everything I could ever hope for in a partner. And sometimes I feel like I'm just trying to keep up, but I want you to know that I am trying every single day. I am trying to be better, to be the man you can rely on, to be the one who will stand by you, not because I have to, but because I choose to, because I love you more than I ever thought possible. Sometimes I wish I could tell you everything I'm feeling. Sometimes I wish I could lay it all out for you, all the parts of me I keep hidden behind a mask of confidence, the fears, the insecurities, the doubts, everything I keep bottled up because I don't want to burden you with them. But I'm learning slowly that true love doesn't hide, it doesn't keep secrets, it doesn't carry burdens alone. True love shares the weight together. I'm telling you this now because you deserve to know I love you. But more than that, I need you to know that you've never been alone in this, even when I don't say it, even when I don't show it the way I should. I've always been with you, beside you, even when you couldn't see it. This message, this confession, it's all for you. A secret I've been carrying for far too long, hidden in the quiet spaces of my heart, waiting for the right moment to share it with you. And now, here it is. I still believe in love, and I still believe in us, in you, in me, in the future we're building together. This is my secret message to you. The truth I couldn't say before, the confession I kept locked away, but now it's yours to know, forever yours, forever us. I've spent most of my life pretending to have all the answers, pretending to be the man who doesn't need anything, who doesn't need help, who can handle everything alone. But then I met you, and everything I thought I knew about love, about strength, about being enough shifted. I used to think love was a destination, a place where you arrive and everything makes sense. But you taught me that love isn't a place, it's a journey, a messy, imperfect journey that requires patience, vulnerability, and above all, trust. And trust, for me, has always been the hardest part. I've been let down before. I've been hurt before. I've trusted people who didn't deserve it. And in doing so, I built walls, walls that I thought would keep me safe. But instead, they just kept me isolated. When I met you, I didn't expect to feel so seen, so understood, so safe. You never pushed me. You never asked for more than I could give. And yet, you gave me everything without expecting anything in return. And that terrified me. Because When someone loves you like that, without conditions, without demands, you start to wonder what you've been missing. You start to question why it took you so long to realize that love doesn't have to come with fear, with hesitation, with the constant need to prove yourself. I've spent too many nights lying next to you, feeling the weight of everything I've kept hidden, and wondering how you could love someone like me.